On Tuesday, the 5th of January, French President Emmanuel Macron announced a proposal to raise the retirement age to 64 years old from the current 62-year-old requirement. And for some context, President Macron is currently serving his second term as president after first being elected in 2017. Upon the announcement of this new change, the people took to the streets in protest. And according to CNN Paris, over 1 million people across the country are participating, with some of the largest demonstrations being in the cities of Paris, Marseille, and Nantes. Within the French Constitution, there is Article 49.3. When Article 49.3 is used, the president is able to force a bill through the government without a vote from the French National Assembly, due to President Macron's party, the Renaissance Party, losing its majority control of the government after the 2022 legislative election. President Macron is not able to gain support for the pension changes, which means he eventually may have to force the bill through with Article 49.3. President Macron's possibility of using the controversial article was immediately unpopular with the people of France. According to French news agency France 24, they reported from a poll that 8 out of 10 people opposed legislating this way, including a majority of voters who backed Macron in the first round of last year's presidential election. Several French trade unions and labor groups are holding strikes and protests. This includes groups from several major industries, including air travel, education, media, sanitation, transportation, energy production, and that's just to name a few of them. All of these demonstrations were initially held in protest of the possible use of Article 49.3. Despite the millions that participated in several demonstrations across the country, on March 16th, Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne, who is a part of President Macron's party, announced to the French National Assembly that they are going to enact Article 49.3 of the French Constitution in order to force the bill through. And this was announced right before the Assembly was supposed to actually make the vote. This was met with immediate dislike from both the National Assembly and their constituents. This was also followed by sudden protests, though quite less organized than the initial ones. Though so far, these protests have not seriously escalated into any violence or destruction and have remained mostly organized. Now, that doesn't mean that none has been present, as protesters have been seen clashing with French riot police, where they have been pushing barricades, throwing fireworks, throwing stones, and as well as lighting several bonfires throughout the streets. And French riot police respond by using pepper spray, tear gas, and even physical force in order to repel the protesters. And on March 17th, Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne tabled the motion of 2 no-confidence votes. For those unfamiliar with the concept of a no-confidence vote, it basically means that the French Parliament is going to vote on whether they are confident French leadership seems fit to hold their position of power. A CNBC article featured a poll that gave results of almost 2/3 of respondents in support of the no-confidence vote, despite there being doubts that there was not even enough votes enabled to pass in Congress. And both no-confidence votes ultimately did not gather the votes, and both failed to pass. And this is mostly a domestic political issue within France, but it has had some effects on the international scale, particularly with English-French relations. CNN reported King Charles III of the United Kingdom, first foreign state visit as the new monarch, has been postponed. And as of right now, protests and demonstrations are still occurring and being planned, and So far, it looks like the retirement age is still likely to be raised by President Macron through Article 49.3.